The abuse and the neglect of children is an awkward discussion to have. It raises emotions in us, and it raises particularly important questions about who we are and how we relate to each other. And one of those questions that I'm going to put to you today is there a better way to protect and nurture our children? And the proposal that I'm going to say in response to that question is we need to revitalise our community involvement so that everyone plays a part in raising them. And by doing so, that will enable us to build strong children rather than mending broken adults. Our children are precious. They are part of us. They're our present, they're our future. They share the inalienable rights of all of us as citizens, and we share a collective responsibility for nurturing them and building them in to be good citizens. Protecting children is actually everybody's business. Child abuse and neglect appears in many different forms, and it has incredible impacts upon people. The importance of it in addressing it can't be overstated. The impacts upon children include their health. Secondly, their well-being is impacted. Thirdly, children's competence is impacted. And finally, their confidence is. Most importantly, maltreatment of children is corrosive to their relationships, and that can follow them their whole life. It's interesting when you talk to children who've been abused and neglected. They don't necessarily want to sever the relationships with their family. What they want, always, is for the abuse or the neglect to stop. And that's an important part to remember. Why? Because our state systems that have been developed fundamentally involve a rescuing of children and nearly always the removal of them from their families. That's the solution. Yet we know that there are major issues with that approach. Those include the doubling of children in care in this country in the last 10 years. We've gone from 20,000 to 40,000 children in care just in the space of 10 years. And that's been largely driven, disproportionately driven, by the removal, the wholesale removal of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander children. There are never-ending inquiries into why we're having scandals or why we're having system failures. The most recent is in Tasmania. It was only announced last week. We've had 40 inquiries in the last 20 years. 40. That's state and federal. And what have those inquiries found? Well, there's been a remarkable consistency. What they find is that the system is quite punitive, that it's very stigmatising, that the help that should be offered to families is not offered to struggling families, that children, when they come into care, typically have very poor life outcomes. Life outcomes that include poor housing when they become adults, mental health problems, drug and alcohol problems, poor unemployment, poor education. You get the picture. In our recent Queensland Carmody inquiry, for example, one of the major issues was highlighted was the turnover of placements. Children, in other words, are placed in foster care or kinship care. Some children reported to that inquiry that they had 40, 50 or even 60 placements in their lifetime. Now you think for a moment, if you were a child and you had lived in 60 different households, what impact would that have upon you? And I'd suggest it would do your head in. So we know that our systems are not quite working as we want them to do, despite the best of our endeavours. In fact, there are some people who say that not only is the system not working, that it is unworkable, that our present way has to change. And that's really my question. Is there a better way to protect and nurture our children? And I want to put to you that, yes, there are. And they're fundamentally based in relationship and our relationship to community. It takes a village to raise a child is an African proverb. And what it means, the underlying basis of it is that children are not just raised by their immediate parents. That in fact, it's a much more complex and much more vibrant and dynamic process than that. that building strong citizens, building strong children to become strong adults, involves the input of uncles and aunties, neighbours, grandparents, elders, friends. There's a whole constellation of input from different people that helps raise good citizens. In fact, social care, ordinary, everyday social care, is the glue that binds us. It connects us with each other. And it is the glue that helps to raise children to be vibrant, happy and satisfied adults. So what is good caring? Have a look at the photo there. What it displays is a couple of important ingredients. When you care well for others, it's good for the receiver of care, but more importantly, in some senses, it's good for the giver of care. What do we know from research about what makes good care? Well, it's a few things, and I think I want to acknowledge the speakers prior to me who've talked about this. It entails simple things. It's timely. It's preventative. It comes without you having to ask. It comes from people noticing what's happening for you and offering. It's non-stigmatising. It is inclusive. But most importantly, good care helps build you, helps empower you to be better than you were. Now that's an important principle. Why? Because all families at some stage or other go through trouble and strife. That is life. Life is full of slings and arrows, as well as good times. So how can you play a part in protecting and nurturing children? I want to put to you that it's actually at 4 levels. There's the personal level, there's the neighbourhood level, there's the community level, and there's the organisational level. And there is a place for all of us at those different levels. At the personal level, it is fairly straightforward. It's not rocket science. It's about having a responsive ear. It's about lending a hand. It's about having eyesight and watching and seeing when a family is struggling and being able to say, do you need a hand? You might see a parent in the supermarket with the screaming child. Rather than pointing the finger of blame, would it not be better on a personal level to say, could I help you there? Do you need a hand? At a neighbourhood level, and this has come through lots of research, at a neighbourhood level, neighbourhoods that connect themselves, that have friendships, have alliances, are better able to protect children. There's research from impoverished communities in the UK by Sally Holland that what she found was that despite these communities being absolutely dirt poor, that the parents organised themselves so that when children played in the street, there were no parks. When children played in the street, there was a watching eye from their community and at a neighbourhood level to make sure they were safe. At a community level, we know that from the Strong Communities research in South Carolina and the US, that when communities mobilise and connect, and this is from community-based organisations, that you build a powerful web of care. You build a powerful web of care that enables people to access the sort of help they need when they need it. And finally, the organisational level, there are lots of community organisations that provide everyday social care. Sporting clubs, recreations, churches. These are the sort of institutional responses that help connect people with the sort of help they need when they need it, and also help connect the informal care with the formal care. I want to leave you just with a few parting thoughts. It is easier to build strong children than to mend broken adults. Prevention is better than a cure. And there is a better way to care and nurture for our children. As Mahatma Gandhi said, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. I want you to go away knowing that you can play a part here by revitalising our community involvement and recognising that everyone plays a part in raising our children. Thank you.